Here's a fun fact, it was originally meant to be a Blue Star Wars video. The problem was after 5 months of editing, my computer ran out of storage and all my progress was lost. Enjoy. The reason why I asked this is that ever since I purchased Elden Ring, I have played a total of I got stuck in the tree Sentinel, rage quit, and never touched it again in utter shame. However, when the Shadow of Her 3 DLC announced its release date 3 days away from my birthday, I believed it was a sign. If I wanna accept such a gift from Daddy FromSoft, I have to give my testicles a good old squeeze, suck my pride, and finally play this game. If I have the power to beat Margit the Fell Omen in Trial by Combat, then in my eyes I am worthy. So onwards I press. Will I be worthy by the end of this video? That's for me to know and for you to see. Right, gang, let's do this. Pick the base for my character. I picked Samurai for the drum. And give him a fitting name. The Dark Cloak reminds me that I am actually Batman and totally not a mental patient that likes to bully and assault the homeless. That's just fucking pasty. No, never mind. Then chiseled my face to that of a true warrior and picked my hair via RNG. 11 2. Now I am ready to initiate my quest. Almost immediately, my tells me to go to the lands between, and to do that, this milligram of fentanyl gets me so high I teleport there. Hey guys, welcome back! The first thing I do after materializing inexplicably to this world is pillage the first corpse I see. Tarnished, weazened finger. Appreciating the welcoming sight of bloodstains in the first area in the game, I failed to resist and jumped. Let me see. What a shocker. Time to proceed to the introductory boss and hopefully I died, and presumably got thrown into a river since that's where I woke up. Even worse was waking up to the sight of a very big stallion and a big titty gothic female. I woke up in the cave of knowledge to find several bottles of my favorite alcoholic beverage in my right pocket. That's good. It gave me extremely brief but potent desires for a homemade single-player execution. It didn't kill me, but it did cause irreparable damage to the base of my spine. But a shiny, comforting light fixed it. It wasn't the comforting light of my final moments, but the power to beat the shelterless for all of their runes is a suitable alternative. In the following cave, a young fella greeted me with an upwards-facing sword, to which I did not consent. So I killed him along with any witnesses, thanks to my long, hard, and thin sword to run straight through what was meant to be the stealth section, to be rewarded with a chance to face off against the hardest boss in all of Elden Ring, the Soldier of Godric. You see, he is not just any Soldier of Godric. This is the Soldier of Godric. The Soldier of Godric of all time, with muscles so big, such throbbing sword, he made me heal once. Yet, this adventure was short-lived as I looped back to where I started. So I figured to make some small talk to the catatonic-looking man. He was quite the conversationalist. With no other path, I opened the gates, greeting me with yet another safe point and a very thick wall of oxygen, sighted to a very phallic-looking device and a structurally impossible elevator that brought me to my new home. That's right, New York Central Park. Here I have a perfect example of a New Yorkian resident, Whiteface Vare. As any New Yorkian does, he introduced himself by calling me a maidenless hoodlum.
You have. No shame in it. Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
so I assumed his aggressive demeanor as a way to proclaim his desire for these hands, so I gave it to him. Though it wasn't easy, as he could constantly harness the filth of the rats that his lightning bolt forced him to use to give me a skin infection. So I chopped his balls off, let him bleed to death, and took his fingers as a trophy. But now I have a bigger problem. My debt, specifically that of the medical variety. And that brandish man with the horse and gold armor is a surgeon and part-time debt collector, hence him wanting me in a tombstone. So how about I challenge, observe how he uses his medical skills to turn my insides into outsides and steal my runes. But remember, I am man. I simply stole back my runes and tiptoed towards a funny looking glowy thing that I totally broke by accident. And this is why I'm pro Graveyard. Totally unrelated, the Church of Eli. I spoke to the only resident of this church, Merchant Kale. But after inspecting his assortment of precious materials,
¿Quieres?
No.
thankfully his dialogue is cheaper. In short, he's a nomadic trader, and these lands are dying, and it's the nutrition of our corpses that keep this land from dying. Thankfully, a lot of my tarnished folk are not the smartest.
Yeah, I should probably ask for directions.
Hello, sir. Do you know where I can go for supplies?
Yes, you can go to these.
What I didn't realize was how literal he meant it, as his common balls pointed towards the direction of a camp full of helping runes. To repay his kindness, I rested before going on a small killing spree, only to be detained by the goth chick from earlier. She started yapping nonsense, and the only thing that I could make out was the word finger, and asked if I didn't mind her being my maiden. And while I'm not a fan of getting pegged by stallions, my desperation forced out a yes. She gave me the Ring of Torrent and the ability to actually use runes. This entire time I was only collecting them from corpses because to save up for a better graphics card. Apparently you can use these as a form of steroids. What matters to me was getting my vengeance on these so I calmly injected these piss-tinted servicemen and their dogs with enough iron for the rest of their lives. I then looted the area to find the Storm Stomp Ash of War and a whetstone knife, then left after killing the remaining survivors, of course. Oh, and I stole some of their weaponry and used their runes for extra vigor, giving me the confidence needed to simply walk through the rest of their block unscathed, leading me to find a golden seed and get assaulted by wolves inside an abandoned shack that had a stone sword key and an arachnophobic Scottish female. I then turned these seeds into an alcoholic beverage of my choice, only to get jump scared again by Melanie, to tell me she isn't actually a maiden and that her mother is inside the tree, then dipped. So I'm still maidenless. Enraged, I killed all the local armed force keepers to enter Margit's arena, and after a much needed 2 seconds of rest, my testicles have expanded just enough to give me the confidence to meet Margit face to face.
In search of the Elden Ring.
Yes. That's me.
Emboldened by the flame of ambition.
This encounter was surprisingly easy. He only neutered me several times since my level of testosterone was so big. When he'd cut my balls off, they just regrow. So instead, he offered me a gummy worm. Unbeknownst to me, this was actually 50 kilograms of potassium cyanide, making me convulse so hard I didn't even get the idea to fight him again. But again, Morne wanted to talk to me, saying she was inspecting me to whether expand my anus with grapes, beets, apples, or pineapples. Then she gave me access to the roundtable hold composed of Gideon, Corin the Incantation Seller, of which I bought Catch Flame, Dialos, Hugh the Smither. I'm so sorry. Please, I didn't know that was your word. I hope you can forgive me. My Smither. And meet Mommy. Sorry, Mommy. Sorry, Mommy. Sorry, Mommy. Sorry. She offered me a hug, to which I agreed, only for her to give me an STD. That's okay, cause she gave me the cure.
How can
and the twin maiden husks, the youngest members of Kong. Then I went back with my balls back to full capacity, ready to be emptied in the worst way possible by the debt collector. So as my fellows over from Section 8 say, the tree Sentinel has an HP total of 2,889 and defense worth 100 and as of patch 1.10. My weapon has a base damage of 115 plus an extra 12 thanks to my strength. This is an approximate of 23 hits I'd need to land successfully. But he is not a stationary target. So let's approach.
My goodness, what an idea.
Huh?
Better scramble like an egg before you get folded like an omelet, nigga. God, Raiders!
No else is the honored one.
Okay, come on.
We must stay focused, brothers.
With my testosterone level so overabundant, I just kept meandering randomly and found the Stormfront catacombs by accident. A place filled with peekaboos, trollicons, and hee-hee-hee-hee. So I emancipated these catacombs from their residence and found the lever to the door in the beginning area, which directly looped to the beginning area. And like any normal person, I entered expecting nothing. I am too mentally retarded to actually put two and two together and wonder why the was there a door locked by a lever. So you can imagine my surprise finding out that it led to a boss. Granted, it was an arthritic dog with gonorrhea constructed like a wither rose with laryngitis, but still a boss. That should have subscribed considering his lack of mass steered him towards his anticlimactic doom. But from his ashes, I found the noble sorcerer ash and oxygen, so I left to ruin myself up. Back to my regularly scheduled homeless harassing, I actually used my brain to actually explore with the use of the map. I went to the telescope icon and I couldn't find an actual telescope, but I did start randomly hearing voices.
I already do.
Except this one was a lot stronger, and it was strongest near this tree, so I hit it. Turns out it isn't a tree, but he is Bach, and he gave me a mushroom. Bach is friend. Next to Bach was the actual telescope, which essentially worked like a shit version of the eagle's eye from Assassin's Creed. But I did spot a bridge, and lucky for me, there was a man there named Kenneth. He is very annoying, with an ego about the size of the Philippines, and his dialogue is twice that. But he did mention a prize though. He did mention a prize. On my way, I found a Church of America containing a ball and an empty bottle of Don Julio. I was quite upset. But Millennia did try to console me, and by console me, I mean speak me the ramblings of a dead woman and lore. And if you know anything about Elden Ring lore, is that it's not meant to fill one with cheer, but something that will is killing big enemies for no reason. And look at that, the troll. If he's not gonna use them, don't mind if I do. And then I got assaulted by the gardening club. And though I find fire to be a great deterrent, that doesn't make it completely easy since my weak witness the plants is a genetic trait of my gamer genes, and it can conjure a shower of stars. Because why not? But its demise, along with that of its seed, was well worth it, as I got a bunch of flowers that I will definitely use for crafting. Then I scurried to the waypoints internals to find the boss, a literal mad pumpkin head. Yes, that's his name, and I imagine that helmet has got to have his eardrums completely fried. And with his defeat, his steroids were stolen and wisely dispatched directly into my vein. These ruins house a woman with one of the most expressive masks in the game, and like any woman, all she does is suck your wallet dry. At least you got the shiny shit. Directly south from her, I found a little pit bull named Princess. Aw, she's so cute. She was in quite the mood, as her daily toddler quota has a couple of centuries to catch up, and she is ravenous. Unfortunately, I couldn't allow her to keep breathing, as those sweet nutritious toddlers are. Let's go. How much is that? Then further south with the Bridge of Sacrifice. Stone.
Smoke weed.
Yeah, not much sacrifice was done, but hey, look, a woman, a blind and defenseless. No. The woman, named Arena, asked me to visit her father on the south, on Castle Morne, and she wants me to kill the servants that have revolted to save him. This is sure to end well. Speaking of well, I found another merchant to whom I sold every useful crafting item. Yeah, definitely useful. I forgot to mention it, but Kenneth mentioned his castle was to the south beyond the Mistwood. I didn't hear the part where he mentioned Mistwood, so I just kept going south and figured perchance Arena and Kenneth were referring to the same place. Spoiler, they were not. Unfortunately, it was protected by a big man with an arrow denying me passage, and yet it stood no chance against a small amount of cheese. And after dodging on his ankles like the rat I am, I entered the castle, went up the elevator, and first impressions were... well, they're better than expected. Boy oh boy, this place has it all. Annoying leukemia dogs, anorexic slaves, the funny giant, flying anorexic slaves, my nose, I'm gonna sneeze. Weird flammable pus beings, barnacle-stricken axe slaves, rats, and even friendly jellyfishes. All topped off with the boss, Leonine Misbegotten, more or less scuffed version of the Bloodhound Knight, if he lived as a 7-Eleven cashier instead of, a knight. In short, while Leonine Misbegotten has strength, he lacks hair, strategy, and he is barbaric in his attacks. Hence why he died by my hands. My reward? A crappy reference to a show no one likes anymore. And a ton of wounds. I then went back to Arena only for her to ask for her daddy.
Back at it again at
Castle Morne.
So I went to look for him, expecting to find the corpse. And after the slaughter of even more slaves, I found him. He talked some shit about the castle inhabitants, gave me a twig, read the letter Irina gave me to give him, talked some more about his daughter, then I left. In the Church of Eli, the Smurf sex doll asked me if I'm Torrent's owner. I answered yes, and she gave me a bell along with 3 wolf slaves. In my map, I found some unexplored ruins filled with all the homeless men I'd ever want to slaughter, and even better, it continued below ground and nothing but the freshest of would-be roadkill for my dinner. But unfortunately, the chest was a trap. I wanted to explore the river under the bridge with the horseman, but my retardry made me believe the horse could somehow survive this fall if he double jumped. Jump, you incessant! The lake certainly had its fair share of corpses, and while a necrophiliac may find himself enticed by them, what enticed me was that further down the lake. Hello, Mr. Nergus. Do you know what lies at the end of this lake? I think he doesn't want to tell me. His technique involves giving people hemorrhoids, then popping the sack and letting his enemies bleed out. If I were my hero fan, I'd be into that. Now I want you to keep in mind I'm not the biggest fan of tag teaming, but if Hunter Yura is willing to get hemorrhoids on my behalf, then I will gladly cooperate. Unfortunately, our tag fighting might have progressed into a straight up jumping that might have progressed into second-degree murder. But hey, I got his knife, along with access to a cave nearby. It didn't have anything apart from bandits, mold, and the hardest boss of all gaming history. Oh my...
Wait, please.
Forget I said that. Patches. A salesman with a wide variety of products. One in particular I have my eye on, but that's for later. And I remembered that Rodrika had a quest for me, so I went back to get some more details. And she gave me the soul of a jellyfish and told me to go to Stormvale Castle and speak to some chrysalids. But if you remember, it's blocked by Margit. Instead, I darted for the trees in a fit of boredom to find a most likely unlicensed Ash of War dealer. But while exploring the local ruins, I was assaulted by Meat Boy and his meat beater. From his corpse, I obtained the hammer talisman. Unfortunately, the lack of entry towards his coliseum, in the midst of asserting my dominance against the impoverished, I met the best non-playable character in all of fiction, full stop, Alexander the Iron Fist. Unfortunately, his mother grounded him and needs my help to get him out. Noticing his cartridge of Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, I did what any professional Smash Bros. Player would do and gave him a quick impact on his posterior with the use of unclean toys. After his unofficial ungroundment, he proceeded to explain to me his quest towards ascension by becoming the highest pothead in all the lands between. And for freeing him, he gave me one of his most prized possessions, the Exalted Weed. The puff I took mixed with an extreme desire to find crystals led me to find the Death Touch catacombs. But the sheer level of testosterone this exalted weed gave me was so much it turned it all into estrogen for only a couple seconds, but it was enough time for me to crawl away like a from the catacombs like the bravest XQC fan. Due to this moment of weakness, I exiled myself into the woods, but as my estrogen levels finally converted back to testosterone, I found a neat little structure waiting for me to explore it. The integrated RGB elevator dragged me into one of the most beautiful countries to enslave men and women alike, North Korea. Unfortunately, Kim Jong-un is not happy over the fact that there's somebody else in this country with access to weapons of mass destruction. This left me with two choices: either face the Korean government or leave. And until I can parry nukes, I'm not gonna face the Korean government. So I left. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk to Irene.
A tarnished, are you?
Yes.
I'm known as D.
I met Dickinson. He talks to me about how he is a necrophobe, his words not mine, and not to go to the graveyard down the hill. So I went to the graveyard down the hill. Oh yeah, would you look at that? Who would have thought using rotting corpses as troops and a canoe as land transport would have ended up with you dead? There we go. Thank you. From her corpse, I extracted what can only be described as the biggest microplastic on Earth, and Demilius told me to go to Garand and feed it to him. And here's where I finally found the purpose for Stone Sword keys. Inside, I found the greatest gift a man could ever hope for. Turtle.
Bye, have a great time.
Come, my child. This is my the house. Rest easy as you have found safety. Be safe and may the light of the turtle guide you. Goodbye.
Turtle led me to safety. Although the game calls it the Smoldering Church, we all know its true name is the House of Turtle. But there was an invader, Natasha, the Turtle Stepper. She despises turtles and is a scorpion supremacist. The only two cures to an apathetic or disregarding nature against turtle kind is either death or lobotomy. I tried to give her a lobotomy, but apparently you're supposed to insert it through the eyes and not through the neck. Either way, she's been safe and she gave me the Scorpion charm. Scorpions are found in caves, meaning I must explore a cave. Lo and behold, a cave. But this cave doesn't just have more individuals for me to brutally insert my sword into. It's also home to a particular mineral, Weedianite. And with Weedianite present, there's only one man I could encounter here. Apparently, he got stuck here while in search for the world's biggest Weedianite gem. Thankfully, he got what he came for. But now I fall curious to this Geraint guy. There are two ways to access him. The first one involves traveling to Bedford, Texas and killing the guards that defend his gate. Or Torrent. You know what? Sure. Yeah, there was a portal here this entire time, and I never noticed it. Immediately, he started begging for his food without even a name exchange.
I smell it. Death. Feeding me.
Okay. Is it good?
Tarnished. Bring more death. I shall grant thee eye and claw. Feed me.
After giving Geraint his also coveted microplastics, I went to the round table hoping to purchase any incantations. The only thing I left was the knowledge that Darnilius was now a part of the round table hold and sells incantations of his own, none of which I can afford. Now I can finally go to where Kenneth was actually referring to, which wasn't even a castle, it was a fort. A fort guarded by the world's best anorexic teenagers and Libyan children. A properly balanced spear fight. My situation only worsens when confronting their leader, a man who found a way to weaponize his syphilis-ridden blood and imbue it to his weapon for maximum damage. To deal with him, I transplanted all the blood from his body into mine, taking his powers and his life at the same time. Remember Patch's chest from earlier? Well, I thought it'd be extremely hilarious if I were to break his trust in me by stealing his goodies. Well, I guess I deserve that. I hope I didn't teleport somewhere as long as it's not the Mistwood room.
Scott here, and this is bad. Real bad.
This worked as a revelation that it would probably be a good idea to upgrade my weapons and use my smithing stones for the one thing they are used for. But before I could do that, something prevented me. A shiny glowing candle trident thing. And even more attractive than a shiny glowing trident is a shiny slave. He led me to a cave with a chest in front of a broken floor. My big brain allowed me to simply move around the broken section and retrieve the chest's riches, and immediately forget about the broken floor, forcing me to fight a small legion of the smallest rats in New York, followed by an unexpected boss fight against Queso's animal spirit. Thankfully, I had my trustworthy wolf slaves to back me up.
Nice.
Oh, mother! Speaking of back, mine was twisted to have more individual faces than a Rubik's Cube by visiting some very unwelcoming ruins. Of course, with my back twisted in a very unsatisfactory way, challenging whoever resides in the hall of the round table hold seemed like a good idea. Mactung Albuquerque relocated my bones by dislocating them so horrendously that both instances cancelled each other out, thus fixing my spine. But beating him was unconceivable as of yet, and instead I chose to beat myself. And what better content to beat myself over than and if anyone were to know anything about furries, it's Kale. He told me that if I ever were to hear howling that I would snap my fingers. And if memory serves me right, and by memory I mean searching for the sound howling across 325 gigabytes of footage I accumulated, it was in the Mistwood ruins. I very promptly explained to him. Before I could even pull my pen, he wanted my assistance to find a man called Darriwil, and the only Darriwil in this game was the Bloodhound Knight they had already killed. But I still went to talk to him over by Darriwil's grave. Even though the slaughter of Darriwil was 100% my actions, he still referred to me as if I was some sort of assistant on his attack. And though I found this insulting, he made up for it by giving me not a smithing stone, but his cooler older brother, the somber smithing stone. I also felt quite curious about the cat anus shaped section of the map. Based on the geological arrangement of this, it was either at the peak of a cliff or directly in front of one. So scaling upwards I went, and look at that, I was correct. Once again, this time Melina actually had some more things to say. She recited even more comments from that. The only thing left in the vicinity big enough to take my attention is this very big tree with a boss that is also a tree? Whatever. The only good thing about this situation is the fact that I already have the arsonist ability, and if anything that Pokemon taught me is true, is that fire is very effective against almost everything. That includes wood. That isn't to say this was easy, as this tree somehow had the power to control light and would never ever stop swinging this gigantic hammer thing.
We can't live side by side.
But I beat it without more than 3 deaths, so that's something. But there was something I almost forgot. Remember that one guy who helped me deal with the other guy on the lake? Well, I had a thought. I figured that perhaps he'd be in the same area I killed the other guy, like Blight over Darriwil's corpse. So I went to the lake and just kept going. And going. And going. And go until I reached the end, and there he was. I had a short conversation with him, and he gave me nothing of value, but I didn't really care. But now that I'm here, I figured I might as well check out Patch's. And after I sold him every single one of my berries, flowers, leaves, you name it, it was all so I could afford a special coveted item of sorts. With everything that I had gone through, every trial and tribulation I have endured, it all culminated to this very moment. With my cheeks puckered, balls tugged, and head held high, I faced him. But right on the gate, I met an unfamiliar sight, a golden summoning sign. I figured that perhaps it could help me in some way, so I touched it and went to face Margit. With help from my wolves, the thing I assumed was the summon, and my syphilis-ridden blood coating my blade, I faced.
Bitch ass.
Get this shit off me!
Fall.
No! Don't pull
The bloody sweat.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Warrior blood must run in my veins.
Get this shit off me! Yes! Yes!
Now fall! Yes! Sorcerer Ragier, I love you.
I shall remember thee. Tarnished.
I have done it. The very thing I have spent several hours on has finally happened. Can I finally answer the question? Am I truly worthy, in my own eyes, to accept the gift of the Shadow of the Earth Tree?